And I remember once being on holiday in Cornwall, and some friends of mine had shown me a place where slowworms would normally lay out basking, but you had to cross a river by the sea to get to this place. So I remember going over when it was quite low tide, and I found some slowworms and then proudly brought them back across the river to show my mum and dad. And I think by the time I actually was ready to take the slowworms back to where I found them, I think the tide was actually coming in. And so all I can remember is wading across this river when I was about 6 or 7, up to my neck in water, with just a slowworm holding it aloft above the water to go and drop it on the other side. Luckily we both made it, and the slowworm seemed happily ever after.
Mainly it's camping, because as I've been telling you earlier, when we lived in Singapore when I was sort of 9 till 11, we used to go camping every weekend, and we had a big sports field. Well, no, sorry, it wasn't a sports field, but it was a big field like a sports field, and we had tents set up on it. It was really the scouts. And every weekend we used to go down and we used to go scouting, we used to do orienteering, we used to cook, we used to play games, and just sort of sing around a campfire, you know. It was really good fun.
When I was young, I was quite mischievous, and we would go catching different types of insects. One of the common insects which we would catch is the dragonfly, and we would have some fun with the dragonfly. At that time, tie a string to the end of its tail, a small string about 1 foot long, and at the end of that string a small piece of paper like a kite, and then we would release the dragonfly and he would go flying in the air with the kite, like a kite flying just behind him. So we had good fun with the dragonfly in that way.
We had to play outside, and it was quite a common thing. We would play outside a lot in the road, in the street. But we didn't have to have parents going with us. We were allowed to wander wherever we went, and no one bothered us. Every summer evening, if it was fine, and most days it seemed the sun seemed to shine in those days, we would play outside in the road, and we would play cricket in the road. But cricket particularly, you could play in the road because there were no cars. There were no cars. The only thing you used to get up the road was a milkman with a horse and cart.
I can remember, in particular, we lived at Hadley, which was near to Leigh-on-Sea. And across the road we were very friendly with a family. Behind their property, which was quite large, was a lovely old rectory which had been allowed to grow wild. And I can remember romping around in this undergrowth and tearing about with the boys, and it was great. Kids don't do things like that now. And I could be out for a whole afternoon and my mother wouldn't worry where I was or if I was all right. And we grew up with these boys in complete freedom. I think freedom was the big word. We didn't realise it at the time, but we do now, because children don't have that kind of freedom. We would build dens there because there were lots of old bushes, and it was wild. It was a kid's paradise. You don't see pieces of land like that now because it's all been developed. But this was really wonderful.
I lived in Wisbech, and in the Fens where all the drains, it used to be full. The drains were always full, all the year round. But in 1953 the floods came, and hundreds lost their lives. So after that, every 3 days, a 3-day rain warning that comes along, they empty all the drains so the water fills the drains. And since then, the newts and sticklebacks have all gone. But they were full in the dikes when I was a kid. We used to go fishing for them. And also the frog spawn, of course. There was frog spawn in every dike.